Welcome back to the Pink Cloud Frequency. I am your host, Briana Wynn. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am here and really, I want to let you know that I am showing up because life has been so full lately, and I am realizing that I'm a bit overwhelmed. Over the past several weeks, I've been taking live courses that require hours of each day. I've been posting on social media daily, and I've been recording shorts for YouTube almost daily. And I know from the outside, it can look like just a post or just a quick video, but creating content of any kind requires planning, scripting, filming, editing. And then once you get that piece of content published, you have to respond, whether it's comments or DMs. So one piece of content can take hours or days of your time. And then on top of that, as you know, I've been building this guided experience for women who want to quit drinking alcohol for good. And the good news is the landing page is complete. The book a call page is also complete. So for the first time, that's starting to become visible, and it actually feels really good. But at the same time, this podcast is incredibly important to me, but the episodes require so much more from me than than anything else does. And that's simply because, of course, I feel a responsibility to everybody who listens, but the reality is I'm putting out episodes every single Wednesday at 5 a.m. And in order to stick to that schedule, I've just got so many other things going on in between. So I'm overwhelmed. And I thought it would be a good idea to talk about overwhelm and stress because I know if you are also working a full time job, if you're a caretaker, if you have a home to manage, if you also have goals that you're working on, you're probably overwhelmed too because all of our everyday responsibilities can catch up quick. And after my son's hockey tournament last weekend and having my family in town, I finally felt like I was starting to get my footing. And then school sports started up. Now, suddenly, my son is required to be at golf almost every morning. Now, they don't start school until Labor Day, but for some reason, they're expected to be present for sports 2 weeks before Labor Day. So that's a lot. And it's like it literally happens overnight. Suddenly, the calendar that was already full gets even more full. It's as if August is the new September. One day, your life feels hectic, but still manageable. And then the next day, you're juggling even more, and it starts to feel a little bit impossible. Because now, on top of coordinating work and dinner and laundry and this and that, now you are trying to figure out how to get your child to and from practice or to and from a game, all the while you're supposed to be working your job. And at the same time, you're supposed to be doing what else? Drinking water, exercising, eating healthy, doing your skincare routine, making time for yourself, relaxing. If we're not careful enough, that can start a downward spiral fairly quickly. So that's what I really wanted to talk about today because somebody just asked me a couple of days ago, how do you deal with all of the overwhelm? I had to think about the response for a little bit. And it took me a bit to get back to her. And finally, the answer I provided was I just do. I just keep going. I keep doing a little bit at a time. And I keep appreciating all of the little moments in between. But I'm only able to do that because I removed alcohol from my life. And that made me think a little bit deeper about the difference between stress and overwhelm. Because yes, I am a bit overwhelmed with ordinary life, but I'm not stressed out. And how we handle overwhelm can determine whether or not we experience stress. As a mom, you kind of just assume that stress is simply having a lot to do. But stress isn't just what's on your calendar. Stress is your body's response to perceived demand. A full calendar, those are your demands. Overwhelm is your awareness that you have a lot of demands. But stress is your physiological response when you perceive those demands as exceeding your capacity to handle them. Two women can have identical schedules, but one woman feels energized and the other woman feels depleted. So the difference isn't your schedule or how many things you need to get done that you haven't yet. The difference is in how your body is responding to what's happening now as well as in the future. That is an important distinction because you can know that there is a lot on your plate right now, but that doesn't mean that you are stressed. Stress is when you start to believe that you can't handle everything that's on your plate. Stress is when you feel like you're never going to get caught up. There's no way that you can do everything that's being asked of you, or you feel like you're failing at everything because you just can't keep up. And that feeling, the feeling that the demands in front of you are greater than your ability to handle them, is where your stress actually comes from, which is based upon your capacity. When I used to drink alcohol, I got a lot done. Absolutely. Some days were more productive than others, some days were wasted, but I simply didn't have the capacity to deal with what was right in front of me. I couldn't regulate myself properly, so everything felt heavier than it actually was, which is why I felt stressed out then and why I felt like I needed a drink. Whereas now, despite how much is going on, I know that it's manageable. When you're drinking, you're not just dealing with what's happening in the moment. You are dealing with the aftermath of drinking, the poor sleep, the anxiety, the brain fog, the lack of energy, the emotional instability and irritability and impatience. Then you wake up, and of course, you still have all of the same responsibilities, but your capacity to deal with all of those responsibilities changes. You think that alcohol is adding something to your night or giving you this sort of relief, but it's really reducing your capacity for tomorrow. So now you can't properly assess or respond to the demands that you already have. When your capacity drops, ordinary overwhelm is much more likely to become stress. So when you look at everything in front of you, you don't just say, "This is a lot." Instead, you say, "This is too much." And you lean into this idea that you can't get it all done because your threshold at which something feels overwhelming is now lowered. And then you exacerbate every single task rather than just simply doing what you can. For me now, I can look at a completely full calendar and still think, okay, this is a lot, but let me figure it out. I can take the next thing and then the next thing and then adjust and prioritize and reprioritize without feeling incapable, without feeling like my life is outside of my control, and without feeling like need to escape my life or run away from my responsibilities. That's one of the greatest gifts an alcohol free life will give you. That is the capacity. Do you believe you can handle what's right in front of you? Alcohol free living gives you the clarity, the energy, the strength, the resilience to control any load, mental or physical. And this goes so much deeper for mothers who are carrying that mental load that nobody else sees except other caregivers. Because the physical tasks are one thing, right? The practices, the school projects, the lunches, the laundry, the dinner, the this, the that. But it's actually those mental burdens that are the heaviest for us. We're carrying the feelings of our children. We're wondering, is my child okay emotionally? And then that's something we bring with us into every single day. So you're asking, how is my child doing? How are they feeling? Is something bothering them? Are they getting enough sleep? Are they eating enough food? Are they hydrated? Are they struggling with school? How do they feel after football tryouts? Is there something that they haven't told you? Are they happy? Are they becoming the person that they are meant to become? Moms are constantly concerned with these internal questions. We notice the expressions and the tones and the silence, and our child's just whole demeanor, how they are when they open a door and close a door. And that is a huge mental load that is not on your calendar, but you're doing it all day, every single day. So even when you're sitting still, your brain is rarely shut down or at ease. And that feeling, your awareness of all these unknowns, if you will, and all of the what ifs, that can turn into a source of stress because now it's not just, I have a lot to do. Now it's, there's so many things I need to pay attention to and so many things I can't actually control. But the problem is, you're trying to mentally manage things that were never yours to control in the first place. You're trying to manage every emotion, manage every possibility, manage every outcome. But that is not possible and it's not healthy. And if you're trying to do it and fit it all into this 24-hour productive, perfect little day, a planner is not going to fix that. Because again, the issue isn't what's on your calendar. The issue isn't even how your child feels per se. It's what is happening in your mind in relation to what's on your calendar and in relation to how your child feels. That is why presence is so important because it allows you to pause and to notice, to listen, to ask questions, to have all of those conversations whenever they come up. You can make those small efforts to stay connected to your child instead of spending all of your energy trying to anticipate what might happen next. And the same applies to your own life and your own feelings. We're never going to have every answer or be able to predict every outcome. We just have to keep moving forward. And we just have to keep making small efforts toward our tasks and our goals and our children's well being. We have to do what's in front of us instead of carrying everything that could potentially come behind it. And that is how you keep going forward. When I said that I keep going while appreciating all of the moments in between, that was exactly what I meant. Because it's those seemingly small moments that make me grateful to be in the position that I'm in. And I only can appreciate them now that I'm alcohol free, you know, to be a mom, to show up for my son with the energy and patience and attentiveness despite our hectic schedule, to be able to walk a few miles every single day, to enjoy my morning coffee while it's still hot, to listen to my sermon faithfully every Sunday at 10 a.m., to accomplish little things every single day that bring me one step closer to achieving my goals, to come on here and podcast because it's part of the program and the option not to no longer exists. But when I used to drink, I would have just said, "Oh no, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm not going to get to it. They can just listen to it on Friday. They won't mind if I miss a week of podcasting." And that's what happens when you are so overwhelmed that you become stressed. You start to conduct your life in a manner that stops being in alignment with the things that you actually want to do. And then you justify it. But when you're alcohol free, you develop that capacity to not just keep going, but to keep going with a mindset that's conducive to being able to keep going. You're able to reframe what you have going on in your calendar and in your mind as gratitude, as acceptance, to know that you can't control anything. So you just go with the flow. You can be overwhelmed, but not allow that overwhelm to become a constant state of stress. I'm overwhelmed, absolutely, but I'm also grateful. I'm grateful I get to build something that matters. I'm grateful that you are here listening to this podcast. I'm grateful that my son plays sports that he loves. I'm grateful to have a full time job that pays the bills. I'm grateful I get another day on this earth. And that's what keeps me going. Overwhelm and gratitude have to coexist because it's that gratitude that's going to minimize the possibility that the ordinary overwhelm is even going to turn into stress. Because when you're grateful, you look at all of what you have going on from a different frame of mind so that those things and the random things and the unplanned event, the hockey practice that wasn't on the schedule this morning, but now it's on the schedule tonight, you start to look at that and you're just like, okay, I can deal with it. I'm not going to talk about it for an hour before I deal with it. I'm just going to deal with it because I'm grateful and I'm flexible and because I have the capacity. But that mindset comes from an alcohol free life. So if you have been feeling stressed lately, I want you to ask yourself whether you're actually stressed or whether you're simply overwhelmed by carrying a lot of ordinary responsibilities. If you meet those internal and external demands in your life with presence and gratitude and acceptance, then it doesn't have to become stress. And then the question becomes, how am I holding everything that's already on my plate rather than simply trying to get everything off of it. And that is where you actually have more control than you realize. So, for your reflection today, ask yourself, what is happening in your life right now that feels stressful? And how might you experience it differently if you approached it with gratitude and with your full capacity? So, thank you so much for listening today. As always, it is a pleasure. I'm so beyond grateful to be doing this and to have you guys listening. If you made it this far, please leave a 5-star rating. I will talk to you all next Wednesday.